All right, so today's lesson is all about monologue structure. So, from reading the novel Risk, you would have picked a character already that you can relate to. Now, your purpose for your monologue is to reveal your character's thoughts and feelings about the events in the novel, as well as their thoughts and feelings about some of the other characters in the novel as well. So, the purpose of your monologue is to reveal something that your audience doesn't already know about the character or to give them a voice. So, this is filling in your gap or silence. Okay. When you fill in a gap, it is something that you are adding to the story that fits in with the context of what we already know. So you are going to add something in here. For example, if you were one of Sierra's parents, you might add in a little story or a memory about what Sierra was like as a child. If you are one of her friends, you might like to give us some details of another time that she got herself in trouble because it actually fits in with the character. Now, you first need to think about what is the purpose of my monologue? Why am I writing one? And what is it going to achieve before you even start planning? Now, when you are ready to start planning, you have to think about the structural elements of your monologue. In a monologue, it is a moment of time. So we're asking you to be the character. It's first person. Okay. You are them for a 5 minute period of time when the character is on their own. So you would set it after something significant has happened in the novel or before, not during. It's really important that you don't try to set your monologue when you're having a conversation with someone or when all the action is happening, because it would be really unnatural for your character to stop and think for 5 minutes. It would be really weird. You wouldn't have Taylor running towards the train and she stops and thinks for 5 minutes. Your monologue has to be set where the character is on their own. They've got 5 minutes to reflect, to think about things that have happened, right? And work through their emotions. So, a good example for where you could set it if you wanted to be Callum might be after Taylor drops the bombshell at the assembly that she also liked Jacob Jones. Now, Callum storms off, and we don't actually know where he goes or what he does. So, if you wanted to be Callum, you could be him after that event. You might be riding your bike home, you might be in your bedroom already, you are alone where you've got time to think about what's just happened. So, in your monologue, when we look at the structural features, it begins in the present tense. Okay, so you are there. All right, so you might start with a present tense sentence starter, and you'll have this list of sentence starters from your teacher. So, things like, why does this always happen to me? Or so much has changed. Or everyone expects me to be like this, or this. It is all present tense. It's showing your feelings and your mood in the moment, okay, which leads into reflecting on the past. So if we have a look at this example, this is present tense here for an example monologue of Taylor. Present tense, I can't believe it. How is this even real? I feel like I'm in a nightmare. If this was past tense, it would say, I couldn't believe it. How was it even real? It felt like I was in a nightmare. So there's this difference there between the tense of the words, and it's really important that you start in the present, then you go into the past to reflect, and then you come back to the present again. Now, every monologue has to have a title. You make it up. And you also have to have a scene setting or a context. So you're telling me who the character is, where they are in the novel. So this is Taylor at home shortly after finding Sierra's body has been found, and what she's doing. She's processing her feelings and reflecting on her relationships. So you need to have that in your monologue as well. You also need to have these things here too, which are called stage directions. And it shows me physically what your character is doing because your monologue is all their thoughts, right? It's everything that they are feeling, it's their emotions going through their mind. So none of their thoughts are included in the none of their actions, pardon, are included in the monologue because it's all their thoughts. So as Taylor, she wouldn't say Taylor is pacing up and down because Taylor wouldn't think that. That would be a little weird to think. That's why it goes in brackets and bold to indicate it's a stage direction. Okay? Same with if your face crumples or you're feeling distraught or you sob or you pause or look at a screensaver, all of those actions must be in brackets and bold to indicate they are a stage direction. All right, so you've got your present tense. Your present tense should establish who you are, where you are, and what part of the novel you're stepping out of. So you don't go, "Hi, I'm Taylor and I am in the bedroom." No, okay? In this monologue, it indicates who she is and where she is by the things that she says. Strangled, I can't believe it. How is this even real? I feel like I'm in a nightmare. The words slap me in the face. Sierra's body has been found. It can't be true. I can't believe it, but looking at Mum's face, deep down I know she's telling the truth. Mum is a mess. Grief lines her pale face and tears run down her flushed cheeks. My chest feels like it's going to burst like a balloon. It could have been me. Now, this is very obvious that it's Taylor because not only is it written similar to how she speaks, but it's also talking about Mum. The only other mum that's really involved, and other than Callum's mum very briefly, is Taylor's mum. Okay. It's also where it says it could have been me. Well, we know that Taylor was also talking to Jacob Jones. So it has established that it is Taylor in the present tense introductory beginning of the monologue. Right. Now, the tone and the mood is going to change throughout your monologue because your character might start feeling one way, and then as they reflect and move through their past memories, their feelings might start to change. So when you get into the middle section, your past tense, this is kind of where they're having flashbacks to memories. They're starting to remember what things that have happened in the past that may reveal something about them, about another character, or something that's happened in the story. Now, this is where you fill a gap or a silence. It's really important that you don't just retell the story. You have to add something in there that your audience doesn't already know, which is your purpose. Okay, so this you can make up. It might be that you make up that, you might be Dave, who is Sierra's dad, and you might make up the fact that Sierra was always naughty, and you might come up with another situation where she wasn't very well behaved and that you let it go and you weren't strict enough on her and now you feel guilty about it. That there would be filling a gap and a silence because you're giving Dave a voice and you're telling us about something else that we don't already know. Now, you have to make sure that what you don't already know actually fits in with something that would be realistic to the characters and realistic to the story. And the whole idea is that you're reflecting on past events, revealing your thoughts and feelings regarding that or regarding other characters. For example, if you want to be Joel, you might just give your opinion on Sierra, which we never hear anything about her. Okay. You might want to, if you're Joel, talk about how you told Sierra that she shouldn't go and you had this conversation with her that didn't actually happen in the book, but you're making it up, and it would be normal that that would be part of the novel. So you have to think about what that's going to be. Now, when you're going into the past tense, right, you need to, because you're reflecting on things that have happened in the past, you need to use past tense language. Okay, so it's this middle one here. So a good way to get into your past memories is to use some of these sentence starters. So since the day that, or since the day when, or I thought something, but now I'm not so sure. Such and such reminds me so much of, and then that section would be in the past. Now, if we go back and we have a look here, this is where the past tense starts. I remember the pit in my stomach when I first realized something really wasn't right. I can't believe I kissed Callum when she was probably already gone. I should have said something straight away or when Callum wanted to. He told me he had a bad feeling, but I brushed him off. I thought he liked her. I was so jealous, but he was right to be worried. I should have been a better friend. So you can see that she's reflecting on her feelings, but there's also regret and shame there. Okay. And then when we go to talk about something else that has happened in the past, there's a link there. She's become another person I will never see again. Then the action, she looks at a screensaver of photo of her dad, and then she reflects on losing her dad. And that's the purpose of this monologue. She reflects on losing her best friend and losing her dad. Okay, and then also losing Rachel. In your monologue, you would reflect on two, maybe three things that you want to remember that are important to your character and obviously related to what the purpose of your monologue is. Okay, so make sure you vary your sentence structure. Use single word sentences. Use italics to emphasize a particular word. Use descriptive language, so imagery, five senses, similes, metaphors, idioms. Repeat words, okay? Use some rhetorical questions because when you think, you question yourself a lot. Use language appropriate to the character and your context. Speak like they would. Now, in terms of swearing, you may swear once only if absolutely necessary to the character and the context, and your character has to have used that language before in the novel. If they haven't, you are not allowed to swear. It is not going to get you a better grade. If anything, it's probably going to detract. So I would really reconsider whether you're going to do that or not. All right, so you've got 2 to 3 past little memories that you reflect on and they relate to the purpose of your monologue. Remember, it's only 5 minutes of time. Do not start in your bedroom and the next minute you're at school. It's not a whole day, it's not a whole story, it's 5 minutes where you are revealing your thoughts and your feelings in that moment in time. So if you need to be really careful as to where you choose to set it, because if you're setting it just after Sierra's gone missing, right? And your character doesn't know that she's dead yet, so you can't mention any of that. So make sure that where you're putting your monologue, you are only talking about things that have already happened because your character can't see the future, so they don't know what's going to happen in the future. So be really careful with that because you will lose marks if you get that wrong. All right, now to end your monologue, you come back to the present tense where you come to some sort of realization, right? How are you going to move forward? What's going to happen next? Have your feelings changed after reflecting on those past events? Have you decided that maybe you're going to be a little bit nicer to Taylor or give her a break? Or maybe if you're Rachel, are you going to try to stop blaming everybody else and start taking some of the responsibility for your daughter and ending up dead? What is it that your character is going to do? If you're Callum, are you going to go and take some time away from Taylor and avoid her for a bit? You can make up a character. Do you need to go and speak to your dad or your brother for some advice? Okay, as long as it fits within the context of the monologue. Make sure your paragraphs, they vary in length and you avoid big chunks of writing. When there is a new idea, there is a new sentence, right? So a change of thought begins a new section. A change of feeling begins a new paragraph. Okay, what I meant by section is paragraph. So you can see that from this one here, there's quite a lot of smaller paragraphs, right? And that's what you're expected to do. Paragraph at the moment of change, paragraph at a moment where your feelings change, and obviously you're kind of sandwiching your past event reflections with present tenses. So you go present, past, present. And you would have gone through this exemplar in class, right? If you haven't, because you're absent, there is a copy of this on the course page. If you have any questions, please ask your teacher, but you should be aiming for about 700 words because we're looking at 3 to 4 minutes for a monologue. You must time it before you hand it in because you're expected to present this, okay? And it needs to be long enough. Use your sentence starters, use your planning sheet, use your structure sheet that you've been given in class, and you should be all good to go. All right, thanks for watching.